You're entering the Blitz with your host, Matt Maldonado, on Madness4life News.
Pretty eyes, I want you to forgive me, for I have been cast out of this life. How quickly I lost the connection. Pretty eyes, I want you to remember me for what I used to be, not what I've become. Life's been a raging sea since you've been gone. I share my torment to the rain, hoping it will wash down to where you've lain. Tell you I'm frail and ill, and how much I wish you were living still. Beyond the mountains, beyond the plains, I start to go insane, screaming out your name. There is nothing I can consciously feel, nothing on earth can help my wounds to heal. Sometimes I feel your presence. Life is much more meaningless now. I can't seem to tell night from day. The leaves of trees no longer sway. If you can hear me from where you are, if you can catch a glimpse of me from afar, spare some room for me by your side. I can't wait to hear your laughter. No matter how much I extend my stay, no matter what words other people say, the only thing that appeals to me is seeing you again someday.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am your host, Matt Maldonado, here in FEMA Region in Las Vegas, man. This is the Blitz, podcast number 40, and it is September 11th, and it's also episode 11. It is the 11th year since the government had operatives crash into the World Trade Centers to take away our rights. and kill over 3,000 people in order to attack Afghanistan and go into Iraq. That's literally a year or two later with Iraq. I'm going to be getting into a lot of news here today. Old articles from like 2006 about 9/11. First on the agenda. From RT, government finally admits that 9/11 toxins caused cancers. This is from today. The U.S. government has decided to acknowledge around 50 different types of cancer that victims of the 9/11 terrorist attacks have been diagnosed with after more than a decade-long wait that has left hundreds dead without proper care or diagnosis. Civilians and first responders that survived the September 11, 2001 attacks, but developed causes of varying cancers in the aftermath will now be covered by a government-administrated healthcare program that will provide them with complimentary checkups and screenings. The decision will apply to survivors of both crashes at the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The National Institute for Occupational Safety made the announcement Monday, adding dozens of diseases, including cancers of the breast, bladder, and lung, culinary cancer, leukemia, melanoma, and childhood cancers, to an already substantial list of diseases that are covered. The publication of this final rule marks an important step in the effort to provide needy treatment and care to 9/11 responders and survivors through the World Trade Center Health Program. NIOSH Director Dr. John Howard said in a statement this week in a separate address, New York City Mayor Bloomberg, criminal by the way, we have argued from the very beginning that the decision whether or not to include cancer be based on science. For several years, however, many victims and physicians have made countless claims that the effects of the attacks in New York City and D.C. did in fact contribute to developing debilitating diseases. Roughly 20,000 gallons of jet fuel, 100,000 tons of organic debris, and 100,000 gallons of heating and diesel oil were ignited on 9/11. I've heard that there was also, it turned into magma, most of the jet fuel. There was magma underneath the World Trade Center that burned for 2 to 3 days. Anyway, continuing here, after two airliners begin flowing at speeds of hundreds of miles an hour, and collided into both towers at the World Trade Center, NBC News reports the crashes there and the related ones that same morning at the Pentagon and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, left an estimated 3,000 people dead and pushed America into battle in Afghanistan and eventually Iraq, the former of which is still operated today at what has become the United States' longest-lasting war. 12 months ago, Dr. David, I can't say his last name, sorry, of the New York City Fire Department published findings accumulated from his own research that revealed that firefighters that were exposed to the dust and smoke that came from the collapse of the Twin Towers have a 19% higher risk of getting various types of cancer than colleagues that were not assigned to Ground Zero. Cancer-causing toxins include include pyocyclic, aromatic, hydrocarbons, and toxins have been found in tests conducted at Ground Zero. In his findings, the doctor writes, this study clearly shows World Trade Center exposure in these firefighters led to an increase in cancer. Well, that's also because of the asbestos coming off of the buildings. That's what the dust was from, asbestos. High levels of asbestos. Retired NYPD officer Edwin Riviera reflected on his assignment at Ground Zero with the New York Post earlier this year and said, "I have cancer and that I should never have gotten as a result of his work there. We sat in the pile and ate, drank water, rest. There was nowhere to go that wasn't contaminated," Riviera said. Excuse me. Before this week, different diseases, depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, and some conditions were acknowledged by NIOS, although a number of cancers that victims have been diagnosed with were never acknowledged until now, although around 50 new diseases will be added to the list. The government determined payment cap for health coverage, $1.55 billion for treatment and $2.78 billion for compensation will not be raised. The decision will impact around 70,000 civilians and first responders, including fire, police, and EMS personnel. These survived the attacks but developed diseases. NBC News reports that 9/11 related illnesses have killed around 1,000 victims so far. Going to the next one. From the Washington Post, this is from 2006, August 2nd. 9/11 panel suspected deception by Pentagon. Some staff members and commissioners of the September 11th panel included that the Pentagon's intentional story of how it reacted to the 2001 terrorist attack may have been part of a deliberate effort to mislead the commission and the public rather than a reflection of the fog of events on that day, according to sources involved in the debate. Wrongdoing ran so deep that the 10-member commission is a secret meeting at the end of its tenure in summer of 2004. Debate referring the matter to the Justice Department for criminal investigation. According to several commission sources, staff members and some commissioners thought that emails and other evidence provided enough probable cause to believe that military and aviation officials violated the law by making false statements to Congress and to the Commission, hoping to hide the response to the hijackings, these sources said. In the end, the panel agreed to a compression, whatever, turning over the litigations to the inspectors general for the defense and support transportation departments, who can make criminal referrals if they believe they are warranted, officials said. We, to this day, don't know why NORAD, the North American Airspace Command, told us what they told us. They literally stood down, basically, NORAD. They were told to stand down by the vice president. But hey, that's okay. No one gets in trouble. No one gets talked about. Thomas H. Keane, the former New Jersey Republican governor who led the commission, it was just so far from the truth. It's one of those loose ends that never got tied. Although the commission's landmark report made it clear that the Defense Department's early versions of events on the day of the attacks were intentional. The revaluation that it considered criminal referrals, reviewing referrals refers how skeptical those reports were viewed by the panel, and provides a gasp of the tension between it and the Obama Bush administration. A Pentagon spokesman said yesterday that the Inspector General's office will soon release a report addressing whether testimony delivered to the commission was knowingly false. A separate report delivered secretly to Congress in May 2005 blamed in part of problems with the way the Defense Department kept its records, according to a summary released yesterday. A spokesman for the Transportation Department's Inspector General's office said its investigation is complete and that a full report is being drafted. Laura Brown, a spokesman for the Federal Aviation Administration, said she could not comment on the Inspector General's inquiry. In an article scheduled to be on newsstands today, Variety Fair magazine reports aspects of the commission debate, although it does not mention the possible criminal referrals, and publishes lengthy experts from military audio tapes recorded on September 11th. ABC News aired excerpts last night. For more than 2 years after the attacks, officials with NORAD and the FAA provided created information about the response to the hijacking in testimony and media appearances. Authorities suggest that U.S. air defenses had reached quickly, that jets had been scrambled in response to the last two hijackings, and the fighters were prepared to shoot down United Airlines Flight 93 if it threatened Washington. In fact, the commission report a year later, audio tapes from NORAD's Northeast headquarters and other evidence showed clearly that the military never had any of the hijacked airliners in its sights, and at one point chased a Phantom aircraft, American Airlines Flight 11, long after it had crashed into the World Trade Center. Continuing here. Major General Larry Arnold and Colonel Alan Scott told the commission that NORAD had begun tracking United 93 at 9:16 a.m., but the commission determined that the airliners was not hijacked until 2 minutes later. The military was not aware of the flight until after it had crashed in Pennsylvania. These and other deception did not become clear until the commission, forced to use can't even say that word. Obtained audio tapes from the FAA and NORAD. Officials said the agencies to release the tapes along with emails, public statements, and other evidence led some of the panel's staff members and commissioners to believe that authorities sought to mislead the commission and the public about what happened on September 11th. I was shocked at how different this truth was from the way it was described. John Farmer, a former New Jersey Attorney General who led the staff inquiry into events on September 11th, said in a recent interview, the tapes told a radically different story from what had been told to us and the public for 2 years. This is not spin. This is not true. Around who could not be reached for comment yesterday told the commission in 2004 that he did not have all the information unearthed by the panel when he testified earlier. Other military officials also denied any intent to mislead the panel. John F. Lehman, a Republican Commission member and former Navy Security Secretary, said in a recent interview that he believed the panel may have been lied to, but that he did not believe the evidence was significant to support a criminal referral. My view of that was that rather it was a willful or just the fog of stupid bureaucracy. I don't know, Lieberman said. But in the order of magnitude of things, going after bureaucrats because they mislead the commission did not seem to make sense to me. And that's it for that report. Next one. Hopefully I can get through all these very quickly. That's the last report. Next report is probably going to be very long, so bear with me. I'm probably going to do a couple of these, not all of them. This is from the DemocraticUnderground.com. Condokezza Rice also forgot 8 pre-9/11 meetings Bush had with CIA Director Tenet. New details of what President Bush and his national security advisor knew about 9/11 after Al-Qaeda cells inside the U.S. are unrevealing. Today, this was from, what year is this? Doesn't say what year. What year is this? Oh, it's 2006. October 2nd, 2006. Today we learned from the consumpted White House insider Bob Woodward that Director of Central Intelligence George Tenet and CIA Counterterrorism Center head Culver Black had an emergency meeting with Condokezza Rice on July 10th, 2001, at which they had an intense, detailed conversation about the threat of looming Al-Qaeda attacks. The meeting concluded with a meeting attended by the heads of national security agencies, which was previously described by the National Terrorism Chief Richard Clark. What is practically significant about the private meetings of Rice with Tenet and Black was the fact that the Counterterrorism Center, CTC, until that Black commanded, had been aware of the entire of the flight 77 hijackers when they entered the U.S. on January 15th, 2000. The CIA and the NSA had tracked the pair as they met with others at an Al Qaeda planning summit in Kuala Lumpur in early January. After they entered the U.S. At L.A. International Airport, the FBI liaison officer drafted a cable to the Bureau's National Security Office in New York, but the FBI agent was ordered to withhold that information, and the cable wasn't sent. Director Tenet was personally briefed on several occasions about the pair, and he and the CDC director met on July 10th, 2001 with Condokezza Rice, with Miss Rice, who was Bush's national security advisor. During sworn testimony, Rice, Tenet, and Black omitted mentions of this meeting to congressional investigators and the 9/11 Commission, a lapse that rises to the level of perjury, the AP reports today. Condokezza no memory of CIA warning of attack. Ireland, the AP Secretary of State Condokezza Rice said she cannot recall then CIA chief. This is from Condokezza Rice, no memory of CIA warning of attack. I think I already said that. Sorry. Then CIA chief George Tenet warning her of an impending Al Qaeda attack in the United States, as a new book claims he did 2 months before the attacks on 9/11. What I am quite concerned of is that I would remember if I was told, as this account apparently says, that there was about an attack, to be an attack in the United States. And the idea that I would somehow have ignored that, I find incomprehensible. Rice was President Bush's national security advisor in 2001 when Bob Woodward's book, State of Denial, outlines a July 10th meeting among Rice, Tenet, and the CIA's top counter-terror officer. I don't know that this meeting took place, but what I really don't know, what I'm quite concerned of, is that it was not a meeting in which I was told there was an impending attack, and I refused to respond, Rice said. However, what's been lost in this latest revision from Woodward is the fact that Tenet had at least 8 meetings with Bush in the 3 weeks before 9/11, some on key dates for the hijackers, and later lied to the 9/11 Commission that his meetings with the president never happened. Here's another one. UQ Wire, Tenet lied under oath to 9/11 Commission. This is from the unansweredquestion.org. I don't think it's on there anymore. That's why they have it on this website. Tenet lied under oath to 9/11 Commission about August 24th, 2001 meeting with the president. Agency compounds misrepresentations. CIA statement omits key date from list of Bush DCI meetings in weeks before 9/11. What did Bush, Tenet, Rumsfeld, and General Myers talk about in Carford, Texas, 3 weeks before the attacks? One day after the Flight 77 hijackers were watch listed by the CIA. Washington, D.C., June 7th, 2004, former CIA Director George Tenet admitted perjury? It's perjury, there we go. In his April 14th testimony before the 9/11 Commission, when he claimed he had not met with President Bush in the months before the attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon, that misrepresentation in Trent's testimony was noted within hours by Agency of French Press. The following day, AP reported the CIA issued what was described as a correction after the director misspoke. There we go. Misspoke. The agency assured that its record showed Tenet meeting with Bush on August 17th and 31st, and then on at least 7 occasions in September prior to Tuesday the 11th. However, that CIA announcement omits mention of the visit that then DCI Tenet apparently made to the president's Crawford, Texas ranch on August 24th. The White House website on August 25th quotes a remark made by George W. Bush that he met with Tenet the previous day. In a transcript, the president is quoted during the impermitted walking tour of Bush's Texas ranch that he had met the day before the CIA director and newly appointed members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Defense Secretary Rumsfeld, and National Security Advisor Rice were also presented at the presidential press conference in Texas on the 24th, according to the White House press notice issued that day. In the August 25th transcript, the President Bush states to reports and visitors. CIA Counterterrorist Center Director Mr. Black was also present at a meeting with Rice 2 months before the attack. Cover Black is an extremely important central figure in the chain of events leading up to the 9/11 attack. Black had been acquainted with Osama bin Laden since at least 1995, when Black was CIA chief of station in Sudan, where bin Laden had made his headquarters after being expelled from Saudi Arabia in early 1995. Black and bin Laden had an armed conversation, after which bin Laden moved to Afghanistan and Black was reassigned. Shortly after their parting of the ways, bin Laden made a public pronouncement of war against the United States, and George Tenet established CTC, which Black headed until 9/11. After the attack, Black was reassigned to head the State Department Bureau of Counterterrorism, and given the diplomatic rank of ambassador and diplomatic immunity before he retired to find Blackwater Associates, a private security company with massive federal contracts in Iraq and inside the United States. I'm gonna probably do one more here. Here's the last one. It's all in the same article. You just go to www.democraticunderground.com. Perjury by CIA Counterterrorism Center Director, the blocked memo. June 10th, 2005, the LA Times reports that in early 2000, the CIA intentionally withheld a memo from the FBI that reported the entry to key 9/11 hijackers into the United States. In this testimony before the Joint Congressional Intelligence Committee in September 2002, former head of the CIA Counterterrorism Center, CTC, stated under oath that his office had inadvertently neglected to inform the FBI when it became known in early 2000 that Flight 77 hijacker Nifar al-Midhar had entered the United States. However, it was revealed yesterday that a memo informed the FBI had actually been drafted at CTC, but an order was issued blocking transmission of that information. In this sworn testimony, Culver Black stated that he and agency staff had simply missed the importance of reports that new Al-Qaeda terrorists had entered the U.S. after attending an Al-Qaeda planning summit. According to Black, then CTC director, who after 9/11 was promoted by President Bush to head State Department counterterrorism, the CIA center failed to pass this information on to the FBI in early 2000 because staff were distracted and overworked for more information. However, as we learned yesterday, Black's testimony to Congress was a mutual misrepresentation of what is the most important question that Congress had for the CIA. Why wasn't the FBI informed in a timely way of this obvious critical development in tracking known Al-Qaeda terrorists? As ranking officer at CTC, Culver Black was in a position to know about the center's memo that had been prepared for transmitted to the FBI at the time. He was also clearly in the chain of command that would decide to block the memo's transmissions to the FBI. Nevertheless, Black told congressional investigators something quite different, and his testimony under oath before the Joint Committee was apparently false in light of the facts that were released yesterday. This is from 2005, actually. just so everybody knows. There's different dates for each ones, too. The last one I read was from 2004, and the other one was from, it doesn't say. But mostly the stuff that was put on here was from 2006. Anyway, continuing here. U.S. intelligence first became aware of Midhar in 1995 when he was referenced in telephone call from a major Al-Qaeda communication center in Yemen, intercepted by the NSA. That communications post was run by Narwaf's uncle. The Al-Midhar family was long been permitted within the militant Yemeni Islamic opposition. Osama bin Laden's family is originally from Yemen, which has been the center of armed opposition to Westerners for many decades, since the British occupied the key port city of Aden and built a huge naval base there, which in the late 90s was again visited by U.S. naval forces after a long This was viewed as a serious provocation by local Islamic radicals. The USS Cole was blown up in Aden Harbor in October 2000 during a refueling stop. In January 2000, the agency had trailed the Midhar and his partner El Hezmi, as they traveled to a meeting with top Al-Qaeda planners in Malaysia. That meeting at which 9/11 and the bombing of the USS Cole were planned was surveilled by multiple U.S. and allied intelligence agencies. Both re-entered the U.S. on the same flight from Bangkok on January 15th, 2000. Somehow, and this has been a major gap in the record, the CIA neglected to notify FBI of the entry. There we go. Entirety. Now we know that this failure to notify the FBI was no oversight. A command decision was taken by the CIA. Director Tenet had been briefed on multiple occasions about Al-Midhar and Al-Hezmi and the Limper meeting, the only Malaysia meeting. There we go. The only questions that remains is, why did the CIA allow known Al-Qaeda terrorists to run free across the U.S. and complete their mission on 9/11? And it just continues on from there. And there's one more article here from the frontpagemagazine.com. Condokezza Rice and the smoking PDB. From Friday, April 16th, 2004. I don't think I can read all this stuff, but I'm going to try. Well, that was a blowout, wasn't it? After much media speculation, the famous article from the President's Daily Brief, PDB, of August 6, 2001 was declassified this past Saturday. Many feared and some hoped it would show the president had received actionable intelligence about the 9/11 attacks more than a month before they occurred. But just read the PDB. You don't have to be James Bond to see there is no actionable intelligence there at all. Not a shred. This needless declassification of a top secret document was the recent result of a stunt by Richard Ben Vincent, a member as unbelievable as it sounds of the 9/11 Commission. When it was his turn to query Condokezza Rice during Thursday's public hearings, Ben Vincent brought up the PDB. He said, isn't it a fact, Dr. Rice, that the August 6 PDB warned against possible attacks in this country? And I ask you whether you recall the title of that PDB. Rice replied, I believe the title was Bin Laden determined to attack inside the United States. Immediately after she finished her sentence, Vincent tried to cut her off. Clearly, his intent was not to ask a question, but simply to force Rice into publicly speaking the words of the title, thereby inflicting political damage on the wartime president. Rice would have none of it. She verbally pushed Ben Vincent aside, explaining the PDB piece was sensitized from historical intelligence and written in response to questions that the president had asked. The article was not a threat report, Rice said. However, it was to no available. Ben Vincent words had done their work. The next day's press was filled with reports on the secret warning. The Los Angeles Times, for example, carried a front page story about disclosures from the commission that President Bush had warned in a highly classified intelligence briefing 5 weeks before the attacks. That Ben Vincent did was contemptible, but there is even more to the story than this. Not only was this practical, not predictable, it's particle. PDB article is not used to alert the president of an impending terrorist attack. No PDB is ever used that way. Never, ever. Not only was Ben Vincent wrong, he could not possibly have been right. Once you know the difference between the PDB and a threat report, and if Ben Vincent doesn't know the difference, he has even less business being on the commission than is already obvious. You know, his insinuations simply had to be bogus. The president's daily brief, the PDB, is the president's morning intelligence newspaper designed to update him on the most important intelligence developments on the past 24 hours. Its overall classification is top secret, but in individual paragraphs may carry a lower classification. The PDB is produced by the intelligence community, with the CIA taking the lead. It is delivered to the president and a few other top national policy makers like the vice president, national security advisor, and the secretary of state. When these officials travel outside the Washington area, the PDB is transmitted through the secure CIA channels and hand-delivered to them, unusually by an agency officer. Articles in the PDB are finished intelligence. This means they draw from many sources, both open and covert. It also means the articles themselves have been thought about and worked on by many people, all experts in whatever subject the article is discussing. Finally, the content of the PDB is often shaped in response to the questions and interests of the president himself. This is especially true of presidents with keen interest in the intelligence product. Like President Bush, it was less true with Clinton. He did not show much concern with national intelligence, especially in his first term. According to both Rice and the CIA, the August 6th PDB article was put together in response to questions from the president. And it just continues on from there. You can find this report at frontpagemagazine.com. Just type in Condokezza Rice and the Smokin' PDB. And that is going to be it for today. I'm going to be here again tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Thank you so much, very much for listening to me. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you can hit that subscribe button or also follow me on the links below. You can also follow Close to Modern's Part of Day. That was supposed to be for a remembrance for the 9/11 attacks. You can follow them on the links below. But actually, they didn't make that song for the 9/11 attacks. It was for something else. But I did it for just a little special music. But anyway, thank you so much, very much for listening to me, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day, and God bless America.